Here we are, already over a week into 2026, so I thought I'd just have one final look back over my sketches of 2025. I've actually managed to do about 75, 80 sketches. Editing Emma here. Actually, I found another load after I recorded this, and it was sort of more like 95, 100. I haven't got the exact number, but ballpark figure. And I've never done a sketchbook tour before. Don't worry, I'm not going to do a sketchbook tour of 75 or 80 sketches. But I just thought I'd look back through some of them and some of the highlights and maybe some of the things that I've learned along the way. And one of the things that really stood out to me when I was compiling this video was I was scrolling through my camera roll on my phone, and loads of the photos I couldn't actually remember taking. Yet every single sketch, I could remember every single thing about it, who I was with, where I was, what was the weather like, even what conversations we were having if I was with someone else. And it always surprises me how much more in the moment I feel when I do a sketch rather than just clicking the shutter on a camera or a phone. This is also the first year that I participated in Plein April, which is basically when you aim to do a sketch outside every day in the month of April. And if you're on social media, then it's quite a good idea to post it up on there too, because it kind of spurs you on and encourages you to do it because you don't really want to miss a day. I thought it was a really good exercise because even on days where I didn't think I'd got time to sketch anything, I'd find something, even if it was something really simple. And I find that sometimes when I start out intending to do something simple, it can often evolve and end up being one of my favourite sketches. This one, for example, I only intended to draw the buildings on the left, but I got so caught up in the moment and carried away, I ended up drawing the whole scene in front of me and filling a double page. If I'd gone out with that intention, I might have overwhelmed myself before I even started. So it really taught me to just go out with no expectations, but find something, even something very small, and if it grows into something bigger, then great. And I should have followed my own advice here when I spent so long walking round and round this park, trying to find the perfect thing to draw, that I ended up right back where I started, by which time the light was fading and it was starting to rain, so I had to finish at home. So 2 things I learned: if you haven't got much time, don't waste it procrastinating, and just go out and plan to draw something small and simple. Sometimes when I haven't got much time, I find myself back somewhere where I've sketched many times before, so I often use these opportunities to try out different ways of approaching the sketch. For example, here with these apartment blocks, I drew the skyline first. Out of all the things that I sketch, I often find that what could be considered the most mundane scenes, just everyday street scenes, they're the ones that tend to give me the most pleasure. And if there's a bit of colour there, then even better. It gives me a chance to break out some different hues other than just brick colours and browns. Sometimes just one element gives enough of a pop of colour to bring the scene alive, like this old-fashioned red telephone box in this park in Colchester, or even something as simple as this window frame that was painted bright red. But also, I find that white buildings are rarely completely white, so I don't just leave them blank. I tend to add a sort of a muted yellow ochre or a bit of grey on them. Visiting Whitby in North Yorkshire presented loads of sketching opportunities, and I think this is when I started to drop using a pencil. You can see I started to use it here and then I quickly gave up. I used to often start my sketches by mapping out the big shapes with a pencil. I used watercolour pencils so I didn't have to rub it out, it just disappears when you put the watercolour wash on. But when you've got something as complex as this scene, you really don't want to have to draw it twice. So I kind of adopted a new technique here and started in one corner. I won't say that I started with the focal point because I'm not really quite sure what the focal point is on a scene like this. But I started in one corner and just let it grow organically, line by line, across the page, sort of putting it together a bit like a jigsaw. Another lesson I learned was not to give up. This sketch in particular I remember causing me loads of problems because I just couldn't get the proportions right. But don't assume you've ruined the sketch if you put a line in what you consider to be the wrong place. You can quite often save it. You can just turn it into something else and get round it. For example, with this windmill, I originally drew it too short, but I just made the wrong line look as if it was one of the slats of wood going across it and hopefully saved it. But I think the biggest thing that struck me this year was how much of urban sketching is decision making, what to put in and what to leave out. For example, these run-down little fishermen's shacks in Sizewell, whether to put in those telegraph poles and power lines or not. So I put them in and I think it enhanced the scruffiness of the whole scene and added to the atmosphere. But a big one for me is always whether to put cars in or not, and you might have heard me mention this before in some of my other videos, that I've kind of got my own rule of thumb that if I can guess what's behind it, then I leave it out, because the car might drive off and I don't want to draw the car wrong and muck up the whole sketch. But if I can't guess what's behind it, then I put it in, but just leave it sort of fairly plain and white. And also sometimes putting them in is helpful to show that a scene is a busy area. I did this sketch here in Harwich and there are quite a few cars, and a passerby said, "Did you need to put those cars in?" No, I didn't need to, but there were quite a lot of them, and not only would I have been doing a lot of guesswork as to what was behind them, leaving them in also shows that it is a busy area. I didn't put any people in, but it still gives the sense that there are people around. This picture of the house in the clouds in Thorpeness, I left that big tree out because, well, in summer I wouldn't have been able to see the house at all. It's bad enough in winter when the tree was bare, but it would have just taken over the whole scene. And what's the point of drawing the house in the clouds if it's hidden behind a tree? So I chose to leave it out. But if you're leaving something out because you don't think you can draw it, well, that's another matter, and I am guilty of this myself. This pub in Goldhanger in Essex had 2 garden benches outside it. I hate drawing garden benches. As you can see, I put one in and it looked okay, and I thought, I'm not going to try my luck and draw another one. So I left the second one out. I'm going to try and find a way to simplify it. You can often get round things by simplifying them, but still giving a hint of what you're looking at. This pier in Eastbourne, for example, I simplified it with lots of sticks and struts and lines. And I actually simplified some of the buildings on this sketch here, but it gives the impression that there's loads of hotels and houses, all different shapes and sizes. None of them actually match up with what's really there. In June, I was lucky enough to attend a brilliant workshop in Oxford with Stephanie Bauer. It's the second workshop I've attended of Stephanie's. And here's the warm-up sketch I did on the first evening before we got properly stuck in. The first workshop I attended was actually organised by Brenda Murray of Studio 56 Boutique. And by chance, Brenda was on the Greek island of Rhodes when I was there on holiday, and she introduced me to Captain Tom, who was tutoring on her workshop that week. If you haven't already come across Brenda's YouTube channel, I highly recommend taking a look. She's got some fantastic live demos on there, and she runs excellent sketching vacation workshops. Back home in the cold of the UK, we were blessed with a few lovely autumn days where it was possible to do some plein air sketching, but I also bought a camper van, which means that I'll be able to get out and about even when it's absolutely freezing. And sketching indoors is fine. I met up with a friend on a cold winter's night in November and we sketched in a bar. And I wanted to try a new technique, so I had a go at Stephen Reddy's method, where value does the work but colour gets the credit. He draws quite a lot of indoor scenes and then he uses tonal values, so different dilutions of ink, before he puts the colour on. He explains it much better than this. So if you're interested, have a look at his book or his demo on the Studio 56 channel. So that brought me pretty much to my last sketch of the year, which was in Manningtree on New Year's Eve, an impromptu get-together with some other sketching friends. And I got to try out my new Esterbrook Charlie Brown fountain pen, which I got for Christmas. I showed that in my last video. So I hope you've enjoyed this little journey through 2025, and I can't wait to get out and about in 2026. I've got some new Christmas presents to try out and hopefully lots of new places to explore and new people to meet. Thanks for watching and happy sketching.